So I'm going to start taking the hood hinges off so I can start singing out around it here. And I get the heater blower motor out, which is in here too. So hopefully I can get this piece off without breaking too many things. So I'm not going to show a lot of this because, you know, I'm just turning bolts. There's the heater blower motor. To get this bracket off, there was 2 bolts here, the 2 bolts here, and then the bolt here, which is kind of a like a stud-like thing. So it's got a little ear right here, and this pushes down in and slides forward, and that tab catches there. So you got to put a screwdriver in, pull that tab up a little bit, and then you can tap this out and remove it to get the hood hinge off. It was actually pretty simple. But I'm going to take that blower motor out of there so I can lube up the motor. And I notice there's a little tiny crack in the plastic right there, and then this piece here down there has a little bit missing, and I'll repair that before I paint the, put the engine back in. So I'm going to paint this with the hood hinge off. I'm going to paint the fender with the hood hinge off. I don't think I'm going to put the hood hinge back on until after stuff's painted. I'm going to pull the other one off too. Just, this is all black, and I can clean this all up and paint it up real nice and pretty. Twisting my arm and reaching around in here to get all the screws out. I think the blower motor is loose. Hopefully I can get it out of here. I don't know if I have to go in the car and undo the squirrel cage maybe. Well, getting out of here may be a bit of a challenge. Well, that was a bit of work. I ended up having to unbolt the fender and lift it up to, it was about 1 inch from coming out. And I didn't want to damage it, and I didn't want to damage the fender or the inner fender, so I just unbolted the fender and lifted it up a little bit. So I'm going to get this fixed, and then I'm going to put some bolts back in the fender. Well, from years of experience of doing things like repairing blower motors, usually you can lubricate them, and that takes care of it. So there's a bearing on each end, and this end here, I'll just drill a little tiny hole in this and put a few drops of oil in there, and then just put a little bit of tape over the hole. That usually takes care of them. Looks like the original blower motor. Taking off the Allen screw that holds the squirrel cage to the motor. Oh wow, it's loose, and I can move it on the shaft. That's awesome. Looks like I might need to put a little lubricant on the shaft, and I think I'm going to take this hex screw out all the way. And put a little oil down in there. So I cleaned the squirrel cage and the motor up. I gorilla taped the wiring and the side of the motor so I won't get any grit in it, and bead blasted it so I can paint it up nice and pretty. But in the meantime, we're going to get it lubed up and quiet. So I just put a little 3-in-1 oil. Let it soak down in the motor and the bearing. this bearing, I'll drill a hole in the other cap. Just a little tiny hole is all you need. Then I'll put some oil in it, and then we'll paint it up and reinstall it. I'll give it a bench test, and I'll test it once it's reinstalled too. These motors are quite expensive, so you don't want to have to replace it. So I think I'm just going to let that sit there and soak for a little while. Alright, I just drilled a little tiny hole there, and I don't know if you can, if that shows up in there or not. The armature is, you can see it turning in there. So I'll put a few drops of oil in this hole. Let it sit down in there. Feel the motor turning freer already. It's usually this bearing that goes dry. To wipe that little lacquer thinner before I paint it to get all the oil off there. Yeah, that turns 100% easier now. You know, the motor worked, it was just noisy from screeched from lack of oil. And then I'll just put a speck of tape over that hole, and that'll keep the dirt and water out. Alright, let me just let this soak a while, and then we'll power it up. I think the motor is ready for paint. It runs nice and smooth now. It no longer squeals. We'll call that lubricated. Paint it up. It's a low gloss black. It's just wet. That's why it's still shiny. But you can see Ford and 12 volts on the motor. Nice smooth running motor. It saved me a pile of money just taking it out and oiling it. And like I say, I've done this to probably half the cars I've restored, and other cars that people have brought to me when they've had noisy, squeaky heater motors. Just oil them up. You know, I mean, the motor worked, it just squealed, so, you know, it's just lack of oil. So that'll, you know, probably last as long as the rest of the car now. Just want to show how easy this sands out. I've been doing this for maybe a couple minutes, not very long, but just some 80 grit paper for the DA. Look at that, right down to the bare metal. So this is where it was really nasty from the hood hinge being attached. And this is cleaning up pretty easy, so I imagine the rest will clean up just as easy. Very time consuming. I saved the discs off this to do this, so I'm not, you know, still often have some good grit left on the worn out on the machine. DA doesn't get into these tight little nooks and crannies. There's a lot of black paint still from the factory on here that I'm not going to try and sand out. I'm just sanding out the roughness and the rust and stuff. And I got way down in behind the plenum. I can reach in behind it and sanded it. And I can reach way the heck over in here and sand too, so it's kind of nice that I can pretty much will get it sanded right to the lip of the fender well in there, the outer fender. So I can get my little door jamb gun up in here and spray all that. I might spray the fender on the inside too with the same paint just to help protect the body. That is definitely gloss black. That was where that sticker was. It's coming along pretty good. I'm getting the fenders all sanded out nicely, the inner fenders. I got a little bit more on the frame to do. I got the front of the radiator core support. I want to clean up the firewall. Yeah, it does say hi there. I've had a lot of people comment on that. I got to find a rubber grommet, or one of those grommets for that hole. But I'm going to hopefully get this thing to where I can start painting by the weekend or early next week. With the snow, I haven't been able to do leaves. Normally I do yard work for people, but that came to an abrupt end when we got 9 inches of snow. So, and it hasn't melted yet. But if it melts, I'll be doing, I'll probably get some jobs. I probably won't get the ones that the amount I'd normally get. But in the meantime, I'm going to work on this, and I'm able to get the inner wheel wells all the way down into the bottom back there, way down in there, because I'm not easily get my hand in there. I can sand the front of the frame and the top of the frame. I can sand the wheel wells all the way around to the lip of the fender. So I have sanded them all the way back in there, and I'm no doubt I can get my little door jamb gun in there, so I'll probably paint the inner fenders and core support with my door jamb gun. They're going to be different. The frame and firewall are going to be Rust-Oleum, and undercarriage is going to be Rust-Oleum. I'm not sure if these are going to be urethane or lacquer or what. We'll see when I get ready to spray it what I have, and I'll look into the cost of some more urethane at the local paint store. The urethane, by the time I buy the paint, the hardener, and the reducer, it's about $200, and I might have the reducer and hardener, which would save me 50, 60 bucks. So if I do, I'll buy a quart of urethane and from them and just spray it, because I probably do have it. But anyway, I'm going to put this video up. I know it's going to be a short video, but I just want to kind of give updates. My dad likes to watch my videos and see what I'm up to, and a lot of the brown you see is just dust, just touching the car. I had my gloves on to sand, just touching the car. My hands are getting dusty. There's no point in this DA, and hand sanding doesn't stir up a lot of dust. It just kind of stays there, drops to the floor. So I don't want to clean it up yet until I'm done sanding. When I'm done sanding, I'll wipe it down, sweep the floor, and then I'll crank up the big leaf blower and blow everything out really good. And before I start painting, I hit everything, clean everything, mop the floor, so I don't want any dust in the paint. But it's I think it's going to look fantastic, when it's done. I think the engine compartment's going to match the engine. It's going to look as nice as the engine, which is what I wanted. I didn't want to open the hood up and see a beautiful engine with crummy fenders or crummy frame or crummy firewall. It's all got to look the same. And then why the hood hinges and stuff are off, you can see I took both sides off. I can throw those in the parts washer, clean them out, paint the little brackets for them, and just keep moving on things. But I'm hoping by early next week I can start spraying. And here I am all covered in dirt again, needing to take another shower. You can't win for losing when you're sanding. You're going to get dirty, and it's just no getting around it. And so anyway, I'm going to call it a day. If you like my video, hit the like button. If you want to see this beautiful Galaxie resurrected, then subscribe to my channel, and thank you for watching.